My name is Elise Navarro. I'm 29 years old, and I've been a 911 dispatcher for 6 years. I've heard overdoses, shootings, domestic violence, car wrecks, people taking their last breaths. I thought I'd heard everything. I was wrong. Last Tuesday at 2:14 p.m., in the middle of an ordinary shift, my headset chimed and the next call flashed on my screen. I hit accept, my voice slipping into automatic mode. 911, what's your emergency? On the other end, a man's voice came through, ragged and panicked. Oh God, oh God, she's not breathing. I recognized it instantly. The cadence, the slight rasp when he yelled, my fiancé, Mark. But he didn't recognize me. Over the phone, with my dispatcher tone on and his panic blurring everything, I was just a stranger in his ear. Ma'am, sir, I need you to stay calm, I said, correcting myself so smoothly I doubted he even noticed. What's your location? He rattled off an address I'd never heard before. An apartment complex across town, nowhere near his office, nowhere near any of our friends. My brain made a quiet note of it even while my fingers flew across the keyboard, pulling up the location. Who isn't breathing? I asked. My friend, he said, stumbling. She just collapsed. Please hurry. She, not he. Not a coworker whose name I knew, not a relative. A woman in some random apartment he was supposed to never be near in the middle of a workday. Professional mode locked into place like a shield. I dispatched an ambulance with muscle memory. Units en route, I typed to the responding medics. Into the headset, my voice stayed level. Sir, is she conscious? Is she breathing at all? No, I don't. Her chest isn't moving. Okay, I said. I'm dispatching an ambulance now. I need you to stay on the line with me. Is she on her back? Yes, oh God, this can't be happening. She can hear you even if she's not responding, I told him. You're going to help her right now. Place the heel of your hand in the center of her chest. I walked my fiancé through CPR for another 90 seconds, counting compressions with him, listening to his voice crack as he begged this mystery woman to wake up, watching the cursor blink on his address on my screen, knowing exactly how far it was from the apartment we shared and the life we were supposed to be building together. The medics radioed in that they were on scene. I heard the knock, the door opening, voices overlapping. Sir, help has arrived, I said. They'll take over now. Thank you, he gasped. Thank you so much. The line went dead. For about 10 seconds, I just sat there, staring at the CAD screen, my hands hovering above the keyboard. My supervisor, Dan, glanced over from his station. He's known me for 4 years. He sees everything. You good? He mouthed. I took off my headset. My voice came out steady, even as my stomach churned. I need to take an early lunch. Family emergency. His eyes softened. Take an hour, he said. Take 2 if you need it. I clocked out, walked to my car on autopilot, and drove home to the apartment Mark and I had shared for 2 years. The same apartment where we'd picked out paint swatches and argued about couch colors and pinned wedding centerpiece ideas on our phones. The same apartment where he'd kissed my forehead that morning and told me he had a full day of meetings. In the parking lot, I sat there for a moment with my hands on the steering wheel. Then I opened my contacts and called Leo, a friend of mine who owns a small moving company. I need a favor, I said when he picked up. You sound like you're about to ask me to hide a body, he joked. Nothing illegal, I said. Just urgent. Relationship emergency. I need someone's stuff packed and out of my place fast. His tone shifted immediately. Say no more. I can have a guy there in 45 minutes. Perfect, I said. Text me when he's close. Inside, I grabbed every suitcase we owned from the closet. I started in the bedroom. All of Mark's clothes, his shirts, his suits, his favorite hoodie he always borrowed from me. Folded, shoved, jammed into suitcases. His cologne, his razors, his smartwatch charger from the bathroom, his gaming console from the living room, his books, his framed photos with friends. Everything that was clearly his went into boxes and bags. The motion kept me from thinking too much. Every time a memory tried to surface, him laughing on this couch, him tracing my ring with his thumb while we watched TV, I shoved another handful of shirts into a suitcase. I wasn't going to give myself time to second-guess this. He had made his choices in someone else's apartment at 2:14 p.m. I was making mine in ours. Leo's guy showed up, took one look at my face, and didn't ask a single question. Where am I taking it? He asked. Storage unit, I said. I'd rented one online while I packed. I'll text you the address. Unit 247. First month's paid. By 4:30 p.m., Mark's presence in my apartment had been reduced to bare walls and the faint ghost of his cologne in the air. The place looked emptier. It also looked cleaner. Honest. I went back to work for my evening shift like nothing had happened, answered more calls, dispatched more help, kept my voice calm while other people's lives fell apart. My shift ended at 11 p.m. At 11:47, I was sitting on our couch when the front door opened. Mark walked in, loosening his tie, looking exhausted but weirdly smug, like he'd survived a rough day and deserved a medal. "Hey, babe," he said, dropping his keys in the bowl. "Sorry I'm late. Work dinner ran long." I just looked at him. "That's funny," I said, "because you called 911 at 2:14 this afternoon from an apartment I've never heard of, saying your friend wasn't breathing." He froze. The color drained from his face so fast it was almost impressive. I don't know what you're talking about." I tilted my head. "I was your dispatcher, Mark," I said quietly. "Small world, huh?" His mouth opened and closed. No sound came out. "Is she okay, by the way?" I added. "Your friend? The woman in the apartment you were supposed to never be near?" "That wasn't— I can explain," he stammered. "Cool," I said, my tone turning surgical. "While you do that, let me explain something. Your stuff is in a storage unit, Unit 247, at the facility on Morrison Street. Here's the key." I tossed it on the coffee table. It landed with a loud little clink that felt like a gavel. "First month's paid. After that, you're on your own." "You can't just—" he started. "I can," I cut in. "I did. This is my apartment, my name on the lease. You moved in 2 years ago." "Where am I supposed to go?" he asked, voice rising. "Not my problem anymore," I said. "Maybe your friend's place. Oh, wait, she might still be in the hospital." His eyes filled with tears. He reached for the one card he had left. "Please, Elise, can we just talk about this?" "We are talking," I said. "I'm talking. I'm telling you we're done. The engagement is off." I slid the ring off my finger, the $2,000 ring I'd watched him save for 8 months to buy. For a second, my hand felt naked, lighter. I slipped the ring into my pocket. "You need to leave," I said. "It's almost midnight," he protested. "Then you'd better start making calls," I replied. He stared at me like he was seeing a stranger. Maybe he was. He grabbed his wallet and his phone, but nothing else, and walked out. The door slammed hard enough that the neighbor knocked a minute later to ask if everything was okay. "Just a breakup," I told him. He nodded sympathetically and went back to his place. That was 3 days ago. Since then, my phone has been blowing up with messages about how cruel I am, how I didn't give Mark a chance to explain, how I threw away a perfectly good engagement over one mistake. But Mark didn't call 911 to confess. He didn't call to come clean or end things. He called because his affair partner had a medical emergency and he needed help. I just happened to be the one who answered. So, no, I don't think I overreacted. 3 days after I packed Mark's life into boxes, my phone felt like a grenade I was too tired to throw away. Every vibration was another accusation, another demand, another self-righteous lecture from someone who had only heard his version of the story. The first big detonation came from his mother. She called from a number I didn't recognize, so I picked up. That was my mistake. "How dare you kick my son out in the middle of the night?" she snapped, not even bothering with hello. "Do you have any idea what you've done to him?" I stared at my coffee mug, watching a drip slide slowly down the rim. "It was 11:47 p.m., I said. Hardly the middle of the night. And I didn't exactly throw him onto the street. I packed his belongings and gave him a key to a storage unit. He left of his own free will." "He could have been in danger," she insisted. "From what?" I asked. "Me sitting on my own couch? I'm pretty sure I'm the one who was in danger of wasting more time on a liar." "You don't understand," she said, her voice turning shrill. "She was just a friend from college. They were studying." I actually laughed, a short, humorless sound. "He called 911 because she wasn't breathing in his arms," I said. "That's not studying. That's something else entirely." There was a pause. Then she went for the jugular. "You always were cold. He told us you never show emotion." "I'm a 911 dispatcher," I replied. "I'm trained not to panic when people are dying in my ear. But sure, let's call that cold." I hung up and blocked her number before she could say anything else. Mutual friends were next. Mark moved fast, trying to control the narrative. We had about 6 couples we regularly hung out with. He clearly called 3 of them first, because they messaged me with thinly veiled judgment. "Elise, what happened? Mark says you kicked him out over a misunderstanding. He says you abused your position at work to spy on him." The other three called me directly and asked for my side of the story without assuming they already knew it. I told them about the 2:14 p.m. call, the unknown address across town, the unconscious woman who was just a friend, the fact that I was the dispatcher who sent help. I didn't dramatize. I didn't embellish. I just gave them the facts, the same way I'd relay an incident on a report. Most of them believed me instantly. One of them said quietly, "He did always seem a little too flirty with other women." Another sighed and admitted she'd seen texts pop up on his Apple Watch once that didn't seem like something a client would send. Red flags everyone had noticed and politely ignored. Work was the part I dreaded. 2 days after the breakup, my supervisor, Dan, called me into his office. There was a folder on his desk and that careful, neutral expression administrators use when they have to sound objective. "We got a complaint," he said. I leaned back in the chair. "Let me guess. Mark's new lawyer friend says I violated some privacy law by taking his call." Dan sighed. "Something like that. She claims you accessed his call inappropriately and used confidential information against him." "I didn't access anything," I said. "I took the call. It was randomly routed to my station. I handled it like any other emergency." "I know that," he said. "Legal knows that. But we still have to investigate. You're on desk duty until it's resolved. Admin tasks, no live calls." Desk duty. It stung more than I thought it would. Calls are the pulse of my job. Without them, I felt like a heart beating in an empty body. Still, I nodded. "Fine. Pull the logs, pull the audio. I know I did everything by the book." Those 11 days felt longer than the 6 months Mark had been lying to me. I filed reports, audited old calls, organized training materials, all while knowing he and his shiny new lawyer girlfriend were somewhere out there telling everyone I'd abused my position. When the investigation results came back, Dan called me in again. This time, the edge of worry was gone from his face. "You handled the call perfectly," he said. "Followed protocol, dispatched appropriate units, ended the call correctly. There's zero evidence you accessed anything outside of your assigned work. The complaint is dismissed." I exhaled for what felt like the first time in a week. "Good," I said. "Look," he added, "I am not supposed to say this, but we heard about what happened. We've got your back." I nodded, throat tight. "Thanks." The twist I didn't see coming hit me that same evening. I was making dinner in my too-quiet kitchen when my phone rang with another unknown number. For a second, I almost let it go, but something in my gut told me to answer. "Hello? Is this Elise Navarro?" a woman's voice asked, clipped and controlled in that way people sound when everything underneath is on fire. "Yes," I said. "My name is Rachel," she said. "I'm Claire's wife." The world tilted. Claire, the woman in the apartment, the friend who had stopped breathing on my fiancé's chest. I'm sorry you're going through this," I said carefully. "I only found out last week myself." She let out a harsh breath. "Did you know it had been going on for 6 months?" Ice slid down my spine. 6 months? 6 months, she repeated. Twice a week at his friend's apartment while she told you she was working late. He confessed everything when I confronted him with the texts. Apparently they met at some conference. She pursued him. He was too weak to say no. His words, not mine. I leaned against the counter, one hand gripping the edge. "No," I said quietly. "I didn't know how long." "We have 2 kids," Rachel said, her voice cracking for the first time. 12 years of marriage, and they turned our lives into their little secret soap opera. "I'm so sorry," I said. The words felt inadequate, but they were all I had. We talked for about 20 minutes, compared timelines, filled in each other's blanks. Every new detail was another nail in the coffin of the version of my life I'd thought was real. After we hung up, I stood in the kitchen, staring at nothing. 6 months of betrayal, threaded through engagement photos and menu tastings and cake samples. Half a year of him kissing me goodnight and then sneaking out to someone else's bed. Mark tried to come back twice after that. The first time, he texted saying he'd forgotten some things. I told him to send a list. He did. I packed everything into 3 boxes and left them by the dumpster behind the building. Texted him that they were there. Watched from the window as he picked them up without looking up once. The second time, he tried to show up in person to talk like adults. It was a Saturday at 7 p.m. He knocked. I opened the door just enough to speak. "We need to talk about this," he said, eyes red. "There's nothing to talk about," I replied. "You won't even listen to my side," he protested. "Your side is that you were sleeping with a married woman for 6 months while planning our wedding," I said. "What else is there?" "It wasn't like that," he insisted. "It just happened." Once is an accident, I said. Twice is a choice. Twice a week for 6 months, that's a pattern. You're being unreasonable, he snapped. I'm being single, I said. There's a difference. You need to leave. I love you, he whispered, as if that word could erase everything. You loved how I made your life easier, I said. You didn't love me enough to stop. I closed the door gently, not slamming it this time. He stood outside yelling for a few minutes, but I'd already turned up the TV. Eventually, his voice faded down the hallway. A week later, I took the engagement ring to the jeweler. They had a no-return policy after 90 days, and it had been 9 months since he bought it. They wouldn't refund it, but they offered store credit. I took the loss, around $1,400, and used the credit to buy my dad a watch for his birthday. At least someone who actually loves me got something beautiful out of all this. If the breakup had ended with Mark walking out that night, I probably would have healed twice as fast. But endings rarely come clean when people who built their lives on lies suddenly lose control of the story. Mark and Claire's husband detonated their marriage, my engagement was ash, and somehow both of them acted like I was the one who lit the match. About 2 weeks after the 911 call, the fallout started rolling in like waves. Angry, messy, impossible to stop. The kind of chaos that comes from people who don't want to face what they've done, so they rewrite reality instead. The first wave hit when Claire's husband filed for divorce with the kind of efficiency that tells you a man has reached his breaking point and then kept walking. He filed for full custody, citing adultery and emotional abandonment. His lawyer was brutal, strategic, cold, but efficient in a way I almost admired. That's how I found out Claire hadn't just been cheating with Mark, she'd been cheating habitually. Mark was simply the one who brought the house down. The second wave hit closer to home. Mark showed up at my workplace. It was a Thursday, right in the middle of my shift. My supervisor's voice cracked over the intercom. Elise, can you come downstairs? Someone is waiting for you in the lobby. My stomach dropped. Who? Mark, he said grimly. Security stopped him from coming up. I sighed, pulled my hair into a tight ponytail, and went down. There he was, pacing, eyes wild, shirt wrinkled like he'd slept in it. The same man who once color-coordinated his closet now looked like a man who'd lost a fight with a laundry basket. You told his wife, he snapped before I even stepped fully into the lobby. I blinked. No, I didn't. Then how did she find out? Probably the same way I did, I said. You're not sneaky, Mark. You're predictable. His face twisted. His life is ruined. He's losing everything, and you don't even care. I stared at him for a long moment. Should he have thought about that before sleeping with an engaged woman twice a week for 6 months? Should you have? You're heartless, he spat. I exhaled slowly. Mark, you keep calling me that like it's going to stick. You cheated, not me. I lost my job because of you, he blurted. That made me pause. What? My HR got a tip, he said. Once the divorce papers hit the office, rumors started. They said the affair reflected badly on the company. I'm unemployed because of you. I crossed my arms. I didn't tell your HR anything. Maybe Claire's husband did. Maybe one of your coworkers did. Maybe Claire herself did. Or maybe Karma finally remembered your address. His jaw clenched. I have nothing now. No job, no place to live, no fiancé. You had all of that 3 weeks ago, I said quietly. You chose to risk it. Don't rewrite the story now that you don't like the ending. Security walked over, hands resting near their belts. Mark saw them approaching and backed away, but not before hissing, "You'll regret this." He left. I didn't flinch. That's when the third wave hit. The harassment texts started coming from unknown numbers. You ruined her life. She loved you. Hope you can live with yourself. We know where you work. I blocked each number, but new ones appeared like weeds. Then my car was keyed. Deep scratches gouged into the driver's side door. One long line, then another, crossing it like someone carved an X just to mark me. Repair estimate, $800. I filed a police report, even though there was no proof. The officer's pen paused halfway through the form. You think your ex did this? Her or someone who thinks they're doing her a favor, I said. You want to pursue harassment charges? He asked. Not yet, I said, but I'm documenting everything. His eyebrows lifted. Smart. Keep a file. If it escalates, come back immediately. And escalate it did. 2 days later, my landlord called. Elise, he said tightly, we've received 3 complaints about yelling and disturbances in your apartment. What's going on? I almost laughed at the irony. I broke up with my fiancé 3 weeks ago. He keeps showing up trying to talk. I've told him to leave every time. The complaints say you were being aggressive, my landlord said, skepticism creeping in. Check the hallway cameras, I said. Half an hour later, he called back. Cameras show your ex arriving, shouting, and you closing the door without engaging. No yelling from you. I'm sorry. It's not your fault. Elise, he said softly, if he keeps coming back, you should consider getting a restraining order. I won't renew your lease if this continues. I understood. Truly. Drama travels faster than rent payments. I told him I'd figure things out. That night, I sat in my living room, staring at the wall, thinking about how quickly love had turned into this: harassment, lies, property damage, workplace disruptions. A lawyer friend of mine confirmed that I had grounds for a restraining order. Honestly, more than enough grounds. But he also warned me that filing one might escalate things. Once you file, he'll get a lawyer, he said. It'll cost money, it might not even get approved, and it will trigger a fight. I wasn't sure if I wanted another fight. I wanted peace, quiet, distance. Another voice message came the next day. Mark's mom again, because she'd borrowed her husband's phone after I blocked hers. You are ruining my daughter's life, she said. She made one mistake, and you're punishing her forever. She's staying with me now because she has nowhere to go. She's depressed. She's not eating. This is your fault. You need to forgive her. That's what adults do. I saved the voicemail, didn't respond. Later that evening, Rachel, the soon-to-be ex-wife, called again for one final coordination before the custody hearing. She asked a few timeline questions, clarified dates, then sighed. I trusted him, she said, for 12 years. I trusted him for 4, I replied. Feels stupid now. It's not stupid, she said. We loved the wrong men, that's all. She was right. Somewhere between the car being keyed, the fake disturbance complaints, and another stack of threatening texts, I realized something. I didn't hate Mark. I just didn't care anymore. Caring was too heavy, too exhausting. My therapist called it emotional detachment. She said it was a sign I was healing. That was when I decided to move. I found a modest 1-bedroom 15 minutes closer to work. Lower rent, 6-month lease, fresh walls with no memories embedded in them. I signed the papers the next morning. I wasn't running. I was choosing myself. And for the first time since the 911 call, I felt something that felt a lot like relief. Moving day felt surreal. I packed the last box of my things, and looked around the apartment I'd once imagined raising kids in. The place was only 2 years old, but somehow it already felt like a lifetime ago. I locked the door behind me without ceremony. No tears, no last look back. Just the satisfying click of a deadbolt and the final removal of a weight I'd been carrying far too long. My new apartment was small, bright, and blessedly quiet. No memories baked into the walls. No faint trace of Mark's cologne. No lingering sense of anticipation for keys rattling in the lock. Just sunlight through bare windows and the hum of my own breathing. It was the kind of quiet that felt earned, not lonely, not empty, peaceful. The harassment tapered off almost immediately after I moved. No more anonymous texts, no more fake noise complaints, no more keyed car or surprise lobby confrontations. It was like the moment Mark couldn't access my old address, he realized I wasn't a character in his story anymore. I was gone. Out of his reach, out of his life. I didn't get a restraining order. I didn't need one. He simply vanished. Of course, mutual friends had updates, whether I wanted them or not. Apparently, once Claire's divorce paperwork hit, their office found out about the affair. The gossip spread faster than morning coffee. Mark hadn't been fired, like he claimed. He quit under pressure. Claire had left the company too, after the rumor mill swallowed her whole. They'd both fallen out of favor in record time. The divorce was brutal. Claire's husband pushed for and won primary custody of their kids. The judge cited her repeated pattern of dishonesty and demonstrated emotional instability as reasons supervised visits were necessary. She had to move back in with her parents after her income took a hit. She still told people I ruined her life. Mark moved in with his parents too. Took a job at a smaller firm, lower pay, fewer benefits, complained to anyone who'd listen that I overreacted and destroyed his future over nothing. Over nothing. 6 months of cheating, twice a week, while planning a wedding, while sharing my bed, while lying to my face. Nothing, right? People have short memories when they're trying to protect their egos. 3 of the mutual couples sided with him, parroting whatever narrative made them feel smart, or loyal, or comfortable. They stopped inviting me to things, unfollowed me quietly, let the friendship fade. But the other three doubled down. They checked on me. They invited me out. They showed up with takeout when I moved in. They asked real questions and listened to the answers. One of the women even said, "I think you saved yourself from something much worse down the road." She wasn't wrong. Financially, it could have been a disaster. But I came out, okay, a little bruised, but standing. I took a $1,400 loss on the ring exchange. Annoying, but survivable. The car repairs cost $800. Insurance covered most after the deductible. I didn't lose a house. I didn't lose a joint bank account. I didn't lose retirement funds. I didn't lose years of marriage. It could have been so much worse. Work improved too. Being cleared in the investigation actually boosted my standing. The supervisors saw how I handled everything. Calm, methodical, documented. They praised my professionalism. Some coworkers shared their own cheating or breakup stories, and for the first time, I didn't feel alone in the mess. Therapy helped more than I expected. My therapist told me something that stuck. The absence of chaos feels uncomfortable at first. Peace feels like emptiness until your brain learns it's safe. She wasn't wrong. For the first time in years, my evenings were quiet. No anxious waiting. No wondering why he was working late. No pretending everything was fine when it wasn't. I'd come home from work, cook a simple dinner, watch a show, and sleep deeply, something I hadn't done during the entire engagement. Dating? Not yet. Maybe next year. Maybe longer. I wasn't lonely. I was healing, and healing takes room. A few weeks after moving, my dad came over to help me hang shelves. He looked around my little apartment, nodded approvingly, and then asked, "Do you hate him?" I thought about it. Hate is exhausting. It's a tether. "No," I said finally. "I'm disappointed. I'm angry sometimes. But hate? That would mean he still has power over me. He doesn't." Dad smiled. "Good. Hate is just another way of staying connected." He was right. One night, sitting alone on my couch with a cup of tea and the soft glow of the lamp beside me, I realized something. This quiet life, was the happiest I'd felt in years. I wasn't performing anymore. I wasn't pretending. I wasn't sharing space with someone who lied as easily as breathing. I was alone, but I was free. And freedom feels a lot like peace, when you've spent too long twisting yourself into shapes that don't fit. To anyone who's been in my shoes, trusting someone who didn't deserve it, forgiving what should never have been forgiven, trying to build a future on top of secrets, listen to me, Anne. Trust your gut. Document everything. Do not let people shame you into accepting betrayal. You know your own boundaries. You know your worth. Walking away isn't heartless. Walking away is brave. Walking away is choosing yourself. And sometimes the quiet life you rebuild alone is better than any future you imagined with the wrong person.